All right, hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabriel, coming straight at you from Queens, New York, and today we are going to take a look at Black Lives Matter. I'm not talking about the simple statement. I am not talking about the general uninitiated type of follower of Black Lives Matter. I am talking about the actual organization and their structure. And to do this, we are going to go straight to them for the source. As the source, we are going to go to blacklivesmatter.com. We are going to read their about section. We are going to probably be making one video per section in the about section, because each section has a lot that I want to go through, and I think it's fair to do that, right? So I'm going to go ahead here and show you the I'm going to show you the homepage here. This is blacklivesmatter.com. Obviously, you have the homepage here with like their lead type of stories and whatnot. They got to sell their merch, other social media and things of that nature. One quick note that I do want to point out is that obviously you can donate, right? And when you click donate, it takes you here to secure.actblue.com. This is where your money would go to, is the Act Blue charities. I encourage you to do a quick Google search on what is Act Blue, and then compare what Act Blue is all about with the statement that BLM is not a political movement. That's just do a little bit of your own research before I even get into the whole thing about where the money for BLM is going to. Is it going to black colleges? Is it going to black communities? Is it going to black people? Or is this going somewhere else? Go ahead and do your own research. Look at where Act Blue sends its money. All right, so with that out of the way, let's go here. As you can see, the about section has a bunch of different things, so we're gonna actually just start from the top. And as you can see, I already have some tabs here prepared because I have done a little bit of preparation for this video. So we are going to simply read the about section, and then whenever I've made a note, I'm going to use one of my tabs and take a slightly deeper dive into BLM and what it's all about. All right, so here we go. About hashtag Black Lives Matter was founded in 2013 in response to the acquittal of Treyvon Martin's murderer. All right, so right there, boom, we need to absolutely take a look at what this is all about. This is what started the movement, right? It was the acquittal of Treyvon Martin's murder, right? So we have here a presupposition that the guy that killed Treyvon Martin did, when you murder somebody, that's with intent to kill, right? That's like that, you get murder has, a couple degrees: murder in the first degree, second degree, third degree, etc. So we need to actually just take a pause. This is probably going to be the bulk of the video because the other points are, well, they're not that small, but this is going to be a pretty while. So let's actually go over the shooting of Treyvon Martin, right? We are going here into Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not a right-leaning source of information. Wikipedia is most definitely left-leaning. So, and you will see that is where I am getting my information from. I am going to left-leaning sources. I'm not going to right-leaning sources and having them tell me what they think about the left-leaning ideologies. I'm going to the left-leaning sources and reading what it is that they believe about these ideologies. All right, so the shooting of Treyvon Martin. And again, I highly recommend that you come to this. Wikipedia, look, it's not an academic thing, right? But it's kind of sourced by the world. So there's so many people able to edit it that the obvious lies and inaccurate things get vetted out more consistently than not. All right, so we can look at this and actually assume that a lot of the information on here is accurate, right? So let's go ahead and read what the Zimmerman and versus Treyvon Martin shooting was all about. On one night, February 26, 2012, Zimmerman shot Martin. Zimmerman is a 28-year-old Latino, and Martin is a 17-year-old African American. What's the neighborhood watch? He was for his gated community where Martin was visiting his relatives at the time. Zimmerman shot Martin, who was unarmed, during physical altercation between the two. Zimmerman, injured during the encounter, claimed self-defense in the confrontation. Right, so that's basically what happened. Let's actually go here. It'll tell you a couple things about all of this, but let's actually go into let's go down to the witness accounts here. All right, so recordings of 8 calls to the police made on the night of shooting were released. The only eyewitness to the end of the confrontation stated that Martin was on top of Zimmerman, punching him, while Zimmerman was yelling for help. This witness, who identified himself as John, stated that the guy on the bottom had a red sweater, was yelling for help, and I told him to stop, and I was calling 911, or 911. I shouldn't say 911. 911 is on my mind because it's literally just passed like 2 days ago. He went on to say that when he got upstairs and looked down, the guy that was on top beating up the other guy was laying on the grass, and that he was probably dead by that point. Right, so that was the only eyewitness. The other witnesses that made statements here, they're all people that heard what was going on and things of that nature. So a 13-year-old boy walking his dog saw a man on the ground shortly before the shooting and identified him as wearing red. His mother later disputed the testimony, claimed that the police pressured him into choosing that color that the man was wearing, and that her son could not see any details in the dark. She also said the police waited 5 days before requesting to even question her son, and said that the lead homicide investigator told her that he did not believe the shooting was self-defense. Mary Kutcher and her roommate stated that she believes that there was no punching, there was no hitting, there was no wrestling just prior to the shooting, but admitted that she neither saw the shooting nor the preceding altercation. Right, so this is one of those people that just heard what happened and just made things up. Kutcher and her roommate heard the pair was a very young with no signs of a fight. They heard gunshots. The crying stopped immediately, and they saw Zimmerman on his knees straddling Martin on the ground. Police spokesman issued a statement disputing Kutcher's version of events, calling her statements to WFT inconsistent with her sworn testimony to police. However, Kutcher and her roommate maintained that their account of the incident to the police did not agree with Zimmerman's, and they demand the police issue a retraction. So we have here people already, even on the day of, like, just lying, making things up, so keep in mind the only real eyewitness testimony was the very first one, right? The 13-year-old didn't really see anything. These people, this girl, only heard things and then made things up. On March 29th, an eyewitness referred to as a male said that the two men on the ground scuffling, then heard a shooting and saw Zimmerman walk away with no blood on him. The witness later appeared referred to as a female, giving more details. She pointed out that she heard an argument between a younger and older voice. During the time when the incident, the scuffling happened on the grass. She said that a larger man who walked away from the gunshot was on top, and it was too dark to see blood. A witness who arrived shortly after the shooting revealed that photos that he took that night showed the blood trickling down the back, had 2 cuts. It also shows a possible contusion forming from the crown of his head. He noted that he had heard but not seen the scuffle, had been the first to arrive, and had been the first to talk to Zimmerman after the shooting. One witness statement given that night of the shooting describes a black male wearing a dark hoodie on top of a Hispanic male who was yelling for help. The witness said that the black male was throwing punches, ground pounding basically. After hearing a pop, he saw the black male lay down on the grass. All right, so again, you can come here yourself and see what happened. You can hear the 911 calls. You can see here, obviously, these are the pictures taken of Zimmerman on that night. So people that say that there was no fight, that there was no altercation, that he was not on the ground being beat up, obviously false. As you can see, you can't really do this to yourself. You know, so yeah, so right from the get-go, we have here a movement that didn't involve the police, right? Didn't involve even a white guy, right? It was Zimmerman was a Spanish dude. It's part of the neighborhood watch, and he was following Martin, right? This we know, he was following Martin, and they got into a fight. And at some point during the fight, Martin got the upper hand, but instead of not proceeding to beat on Zimmerman, Martin decided to continue to assault Zimmerman. That's the point where, in my opinion, Martin became the aggressor. You know, initially Zimmerman was probably could have been considered the aggressor because he was the one that was following Martin, you know, and asking him type of questions that you don't, it's none of your business really where I'm going, right? But at the moment where Martin was now on top of Zimmerman, beating him ground and pound style, giving him those injuries that were pictured right there, that's when Martin became the aggressor, and that's where the self-defense plea was able to be made and successfully made in Zimmerman's defense, right? So if we go back to the Black Lives Matter about page here, we already can see that the beginnings of this movement are shady. Maybe not even shady, but definitely not as cut and dry as one would think, right? The way that they say it right here, the acquittal of Trayvon Martin murder, as if Trayvon Martin was doing nothing when he got shot. As if Trayvon wasn't on top of Zimmerman, ground and pounding him when he got shot, right? This is things that matter, right? These are details that actually matter, right? You can't expect somebody to simply just let somebody else ground and pound them to death, because that is what happens when you ground and pound. You are attempting to murder this person. All right. This is why in MMA, when a person is getting a successful ground and pound, the referee rushes in to stop it, because that is a life-threatening situation. All right. So, but let's leave that at that. Right. So that's the whole. So Trayvon Martin. All right. So that's the beginnings of Black Lives Matter. All right. Black Lives Matter Foundation Incorporated is a global organization, in the U.S., the UK, and in Canada. So. Whose mission is to eradicate white supremacy and build local power to intervene in violence inflicted on black communities by the state and vigilantes. Okay, right. So a lot to unpack on there. It's a global organization, so it tells us where its chapters are. We have a U.S. chapter, a U.K. chapter, and a Canada chapter. I mean, maybe chapter is not the right term, but a base of operations with chapters in the U.S., the U.K., and Canada, and their mission is to eradicate white supremacy, right? Eradicate. We all know what eradicate means, right? It's to eliminate, to get rid of, to destroy, right? To remove white supremacy. So then what is white supremacy, right? Well, for that, I brought up 2 different articles here. One of them is a blog post by a Dr. Nicole Caridad Ralston. Pronouns are she, hers, and hers. And she is a mixed race, non-black Latina. Okay? And I have another source here. This is the Unitarian Universalist College of SJ. So UUCSJ, right? Here another thing that breaks down what white supremacy is. All right, so now we've already established that the goal of Black Lives Matter is to eradicate white supremacy. So now we want to unpack what white supremacy is, and according to these leftist sources, and I mean, and this is what they want to get rid of, right? So this blog here shows something that's very very popular amongst the left when talking about white supremacy. You see it being repeated here and here, and it's like this white supremacy pyramid, right, with a line here that shows and separates the differences between covert white supremacy and overt white supremacy. Overt being socially unacceptable and covert being socially acceptable. Okay, so this is what Black Lives Matter is talking about when they are talking about white supremacy, right? This is the things that they want to eradicate. Okay, so they want to eradicate lynching, hate crimes, swastikas, KKK, the N-word, burning crosses, racial slurs, racist jokes, and neo-Nazis, right? So, right, and this is all white supremacy. The difference between overt and covert doesn't actually matter, because white supremacy needs to be eradicated, right? So it all has to go. It all needs to be done away with. Okay, and covert white supremacy is make America great again. And before we even move to covert, let's actually just take a quick peek, right? Look a little bit closer at the overt, quote unquote, overt white supremacy, right? Lynching, that's not racial by nature. People have been lynched throughout history by different groups all throughout the world. This is not a white practice by any means. People were being hung from the gallows before the United States was even a concept. All right, so by people of color lynching other people of color, whites lynching whites, like people were getting hung. This lynching is being hung. All right, hate crimes, again, this is not racial in any type of way. Hate crimes can and often do not even involve race, right? People have suffered hate crimes for having a unique sexual expression, right? So again, that's not white supremacy. Swastikas is a symbol used mostly by the German Nazis back in the 40s, in the 30s and 40s. Popularized by Hitler, basically. So Hitler, as we know, is responsible for the death, for the murder of I think it's what, like 6 through 7 million Jews is what historians put the estimate on, through either directly murdering or through starvation or the gas chambers or slave labor until death, and like many ways to kill a person. So I mean, unless you don't consider Jewish people white, maybe that's white supremacy. The KKK, I could agree, that is white supremacy. Burning crosses innately is not white supremacist. It's just that the KKK, they kind of took that and made that like their thing, So, but saying that burning crosses is white supremacy is the same thing as saying that dogs are, are Nazis because Hitler owned the dog. It's kind of that. The N-word, as we all know, is not white supremacy, because if it is, then every single rapper, hip hop, R&B artist that has ever said the word is a white supremacist. Apparently, no, right? Doesn't make no sense. Racial slurs, not inherently white supremacy, because anybody can use a racial slur. How is that a white thing? Racist jokes, again, some of the greatest comedians have made horrendous racist jokes, and they're hilarious. We're looking at people like Dave Chappelle, we're looking at people like George Carlin, we're looking at people like frick, man, every contemporary comedian from the 90s, since before the 90s, dude, racist jokes are jokes. They're not white supremacy. And neo-Nazis are obvious white supremacists. Okay, so it's like there's two things here, maybe three, that actually are white supremacy. Everything else is, they just kind of throw stuff in there. All right, then we go into covert white supremacy, right? So Make America Great Again. Make America Great Again apparently is a white supremacist slogan, even though, remember when people would call Bill Clinton the first black president because he got some brain in the office by Monica, right? Yeah, he used that slogan a lot. Yeah, Make America Great Again was very popular with Bill Clinton. So, I mean, you could say that he's white, so it proves that it's a white thing. Maybe. But again, there's a lot of non-white people that use Make America Great Again. I forgot what the percentage had to be, but a large percentage of Barack Obama voters had to vote for Trump. Willingly, knowingly voted for Trump. What does that tell you? Did all of those Barack Obama voters racist all of a sudden? Hiring discrimination, that is not a white supremacist thing. People hire, and people should be allowed to discriminate when hiring. What the hell? Yeah, I'm not gonna hire anybody that comes in through trying to get a job in my business. I'm only gonna hire the best of the best as what I feel I need for my work, for my employers, for my employees. If I had a business, police murdering people of color. I mean, police murdering people of color is white supremacy. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if not all cops are bad. It doesn't matter that all cops aren't even white. Police murdering people of color, period, is white supremacy. The school to prison pipeline affects the kids in school regardless of their race. The school to prison pipeline isn't a racial issue, it is a socio-economic issue. It is not white supremacy. Confederate flags, we have a flag in and of itself is just a symbol. It doesn't actually hold any meaning other than what you ascribe to it. So no flag can be white supremacy. Discriminatory lending, again, that's a socioeconomic issue. That's not a racial issue. All right, if you go to a bank with a freaking 275 credit score, you're gonna get discriminated against because of your credit score. All right, if you have a shit credit score, you're not gonna get nothing lent to you, right? Unless, of course, the government comes in and forces banks to lend to people that they shouldn't be lending to, which is exactly what happened during the housing crisis, where banks were lending to people that they didn't have no business lending to, that they knew weren't going to be able to pay them back, and that led to the whole economic crash. Racial profiling. Racial profiling is real, and it's usually based on some type of fact, right? It's not a good practice, but is it white supremacy? No. Why is it not white supremacy? Because everybody does it. Everybody racial profiles at some point or another, even non-white people. Not believing experiences of people of color. You see, if you don't believe people of color, you're practicing white supremacy. What kind of nonsense is this? Police brutality, paternalism, virtuous victim narrative, Eurocentric curriculum, anti-immigration policies / practices, assuming that good intentions are enough. Apparently they're not anymore, right? Denial of white privilege. So denying that you have white privilege is white supremacy. English only initiatives, housing discrimination, fearing people of color, self-appointed white ally. Right. So you cannot call yourself a white. You cannot, if you're white, you can't call yourself an ally, and you can't deny your white privilege, or else you're practicing white supremacy. Denial of racism. There you go. So if you say that maybe you're not successful because you're being lazy, and then the person comes back at you, no, it's because of racism. You know, the person saying that it's because they're lazy, white supremacist. But what about me? What? just but what about me? Just saying but what about me is racist. It's white supremacy. Believing we are post-racial. Don't blame me, I never owned slaves. Celebration of Columbus Day. Tokenism, blaming the victim. Virtuous victim narrative is white supremacy, and blaming the victim is also white supremacy. But we're just one human family. So actually believing that people are just people and that we can all get along, that's white supremacy. Bootstrap theory. So saying that you have it within you to attain any level of success. All you need to do is pick yourself up by your bootstraps, right? Is that means work hard, don't give up, be competent, and hell, be stubborn, and you will succeed. That's white supremacy. So I read tokenism, colorblindness. Colorblindness is white supremacy. Racist mascots, claiming reverse racism. Claiming reverse racism is stupid. It's not white supremacy. There's no such thing as reverse racism. Racism is just racism. You could be racist against white people. Not challenging racist jokes. It is just a joke. White savior complex. So here, see, this is the trifecta. You can see here how it's all. Check out these three specifically. Self-appointed white ally, denial of white privilege, and white savior complex. If you're white, you're fucked. You're screwed. You're done. You're dunzos, bro. There's nothing you can do that would not put you outside of white supremacy. You're just done. All right. So I'm gonna go back here to the blog of Mrs. Dr. Nicole. I'm just gonna read her intro paragraph and I'm gonna read her outro paragraph, just to kind of get like a slightly, because we went over the pyramid, right? So now we know what they mean by white supremacy, right? So then, how do you like apply this, right? So here we go. This is what she writes. I share this in a moment where I am balancing feelings of intense rage and hope for a new future with BIPOC, Black, Indigenous people of color, where BIPOC are able to survive, thrive, move, laugh, live, exist, make mistakes, and just be. This is an invitation for you to do your own work in unpacking how white supremacy and anti-blackness manifests, and how we all need to engage in the deep personal work of the unraveling how this beast is burrowed into our collective psyches. Again, this is an invitation for you to do your own work, just like I've had to do and continue to do as a mixed race, non-black Latina. Lastly, this is an invitation. If she says this is an invitation one more time, you can join or not join, but please know that by not joining, you are choosing to feed the beast that is white supremacy. Let's get started, right? So it's this whole idea that no matter if doing nothing is just as bad as actively lynching people. So in conclusion, do your own work. A common way that white supremacy manifests is by expecting Black, Indigenous, and people of color to teach you, white people, about race, as if we were the ones that invented the fake science around it in the first place, as if we were the ones who spread this fake news across the globe, as if we were the ones who use race as an excuse to decimate and subjugate entire populations of people from this earth. That's actually exactly what happened. Asking a BIPOC individual to teach you is a violent act. It is unpaid, traumatizing labor. It is painful. Ultimately, it is lazy of you and an act of white supremacy to engage in anti-racism work in this way. I started this blog piece as an invitation. She said it again, and I will end with one. She said it again. You are invited to research, read, journal, discuss white supremacy and anti-blackness with other white people. If you are white, discuss white supremacy and anti-blackness with other BIPOC. If you identify as BIPOC, watch documentaries, dig in, dismantle the beast. Will you RSVP? Hell yeah, I will, and I will definitely destroy this. Look, I just read to you that expecting BIPOC to teach white people about race is unpaid, traumatizing labor. That's a lot of white people. What does UUCSJ say about white supremacy? Along with neo-colonialist politics and capitalist economic policies that maintain global poverty and inequality, white supremacy completes the trifecta of systemic injustice that establishes a power imbalance and lack of respect for so-called developing countries. If we see white supremacy as a collection of ideas that values whiteness over other cultures, then we can begin to explore how the status quo is maintained in institutions with well-intentioned people who do not consider themselves racist. Jesus, man. It's so nebulous. Even when we have a list of everything that they're talking about, right? This is supposed to be everything. I mean, I'm sure that they would say this is including but not limited to, right? This is probably what all of that is. I mean, look at all of this. This one is actually more than this. What the heck, dude? I'm fearing people of color, police brutality, fetishizing people of color. Virtuous rate, respectability politics, respectability politics, being nice. If you're being nice, you are practicing white supremacy. Oh man. I mean, most of the things on here have nothing to do with race. But anyways, that's white supremacy. That's what Black Lives Matter wants to eradicate. Alright? They want to eradicate jokes. They want to eradicate fearing people of color. They want to eradicate the denial of white privilege. They want to eradicate Confederate flags. They want to eradicate paternalism. They want to eradicate the meritocracy myth. They call it a myth, right? That you should be measured based on the content of your character and not the color of your skin. They want to erase that. That's what meritocracy is. All right. If I remember correctly, somebody very important said that he had a dream about living in a country that judged you based on the content of your character, not the color of your skin. Right? That was the goal. But we have here a movement that says Black Lives Matter going against that specifically. Okay? By combating and countering acts of violence, creating a space for Black imagination, innovation, and centering Black joy, we are winning immediate improvements in our lives. So we are expansive. We are a collective of liberators who believe in an inclusive and spacious movement. We also believe that in order to win and bring as many people with us along the way, we must move beyond the narrow nationalism that is all too prevalent in Black communities. We must ensure we are building a movement that brings all of us to the front. Now, when they say all of us, they are in fact talking exclusively about Black people. We affirm the lives of Black queer, Black trans, Black disabled, Black undocumented, Black folks with a record, Black women, and all Black lives along the gender spectrum. Our network centers those who have been marginalized within Black liberation movements. Now again, this is just a reaffirmation. If you're not Black, Black Lives Matter don't care about you. You have to be Black. It's an identitarian movement. This is exactly what it's telling us right here in these pages. It's an identitarian movement. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Okay? We are working for a world where Black lives are no longer systematically targeted for demise. Okay? This actually reminds me of a famous quote by a white supremacist, and I'll bring that up. I don't have it already set up, but I'll bring it up shortly after this. We affirm our humanity, our contributions to the society, and our resilience in the face of deadly oppression. See, then this is the thing, right? This is not unique to Black people, right? Affirming your humanity, your contributions to the society, and being resilient in the face of deadly oppression. That's every human ever. Literally. The call for Black lives to matter is a rallying cry for all Black lives striving for liberation. And this is the last point that I'm going to make, that right here, this last sentence is also a straight up lie. It's just straight up lie. Because Black Lives Matter does not represent all Black lives. They're not in Chicago. They're not in the hood. They're not in the projects. Black Lives Matters only deals with Black lives that have been taken by police officers, whether it's justified or not. That's the only time that they advocate for anything having to do with Black lives. You don't believe me? Take a popular Black Lives Matter activist, Don Lemon, right? Check it out. Check what Don Lemon says. What Black Lives Matter is all about. Let me put on my headphones. All right, he's gonna give some like weird ass comparison that makes no sense, but yeah, there we go. You know, Don Lemon is a very popular figure amongst the left, and he did in fact call it correctly. He is not wrong, right? I agree with Don Lemon. Yeah, Black Lives Matter is not an all-encompassing rallying cry for all black lives. It is specific against police brutality, you know, and that is defined as anything. It doesn't matter what the potential victim did or not, right? If a cop defends his life in any type of way against a black person, that is police brutality. We're gonna do one quick reference here that maybe that popped up in my head thinking about this, and it said here, right, we are working for a world where black lives are no longer systematically targeted for demise. I take you to the ADL. All right, this is a popular what's it called? I forget. it's okay. So it's a left-leaning source again, right? And it keeps track of like racist shit, right? So the 14 words is a reference to the most popular white supremacist slogan in the world, right? This is the most popular white supremacist slogan in the world. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 words. Secure an existence for our people and a future for white children. It's almost as if they think they're being targeted, isn't it? Right? The slogan was coined by David Lane, a member of the white supremacist terrorist group known as The Order. The term reflects the primary white supremacist worldview in the late 20th century and early 21st centuries that unless, so this is what they thought. This is what they thought. Unless immediate action is taken, the white race is doomed to extinction by an alleged rising tide of color purportedly controlled and manipulated by the Jews. Because of his white supremacists reference this slogan constantly in its full form, as well as the abbreviation such as 14 words or simply the number 14, right? So you can see images of white supremacist, gang members. They tattoo this shit. They tattoo this shit on their body. All right. Anti-Antifa images are supposed. Anti-Antifa is white supremacy. Oh boy. Anyways, but yeah, so it's interesting, right? Because we have here a similar thought pattern. It's a very interesting similar comparison. That there is this idea that let's take away the actual race and just say group, right? Unless immediate action is taken, our group is doomed to extinction by another group. We're working for a world where our group is no longer systematically targeted for demise, and we could just add by another group. They believe the exact same thing. It's just that the colors are flipped. But that's going to be it. It was a very long video, and I am sorry for that. But the Treyvon Martin and the white supremacy was a lot to unpack. I feel like we did a really good job unpacking it. That's all for me. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the other side.